before I begin, I know I speak on behalf of all Wrexham fans in wishing a swift and complete recovery to Connor Jennings. Connor was diagnosed with cancer a couple of days ago. Shocking news, although pleasingly it is a form that is operable. Nobody who has come across Connor can have anything but the utmost respect for him. An admirable man who really does behave with great integrity. And it's no coincidence that he's like that, because we've also had the pleasure of James, his brother, playing for us, of course, and he's cut from exactly the same cloth. Clearly, the Jennings family have extremely strong values, and they deserve all our support throughout Connor's recovery. Again, best wishes, Connor. I hope that we see you on the pitch against us in the playoff final. I mean, I hope we beat you, I've got to be honest, but nonetheless, you're a top man, and we wish you all the best. And now on to the trivial stuff, football. Final score: Wrexham 3, Bromley 0, our biggest ever win over the Ravens, and ultimately a well-deserved one, although it's got to be said that the game could have turned out differently. Bromley having a very fast start, and as we said, they did have a few very good chances to score, which they didn't take. It should also be said that Wrexham had some fantastic chances they didn't take either. So certainly a match which could have contained more than just the 3 goals. Wrexham coming in the game obviously off a bit of a break, having not played in 11 days. And clearly that time was well spent in a training ground, and also because the side looked sharp when they were coming forwards, certainly in the last hour of the game. And also clearly well spent in the physio's room, because there were some interesting alterations to the team. Indeed, Dean Keats bit the bullet and made some brave decisions. Firstly, Rob Lainton returned in goal. Christian Dibble has done a smashing job, of course, and they had played leading into this game, and with the expunging of the Dover game from the records, the same number of league matches between them this season. Lainton returned, though, a massive call after the performances Dibble has put in, but then we all know that Lainton's a high-quality keeper, and Keats stuck with him. Also in the centre of defence, Fika Kelleher, suspended, of course. I was going to say controversially, I think I'll just say ludicrously, after the red card he was handed in the Eastleigh game. Oh, I won't go over all that again. He was replaced by Sean Pearson, who was fit enough to start and put in a magnificent performance. Another alteration in the back 3 saw Mark Carrington make way and Tyler French come back in. I think probably the extra pace that French offers alongside Pearson was possibly a factor in that. And there was another change. Jordan Davis, who was rested for the Eastleigh game, but came on and did well on the bench, replacing Elliot Durrell, who's put in some very good shifts in our previous 3 matches in the middle of the pitch. So bold calls. And I'd say the first half hour didn't really go Wrexham's way, although there is a major codicil to add on that. Bromley have usually been a pretty neat footballing team. They ain't now. I mean, to full disclosure, I did my prep for the game at the start of the week. I was quite shocked at the sort of football they were playing. It wasn't really, long passes to find the 2 strikers. It was more launching big hoofs up the pitch just to put pressure on the opposition. They sacked their manager, Neil Smith, on Thursday. Remarkable decision. And played in the same manner in this game with a different shape. It was very direct, very Route 1. Strange to see their 2 best ball players, in my eyes, Raymond and Coulson, used as wing-backs. They don't have the pace to drive forward, so they can't do what Record and Hall Johnson do. All they could do was hold their position and stand up deep crosses from deep. Really peculiar setup. But the thing with playing against long ball teams is it can be extremely hard to combat. They break play up, play becomes bitty, and they're able to force you backwards by hitting it long, and they do. In Cheek, the top scorer in the division, and Courtney Duffus have 2 strikers who are good at chasing the ball, good at winning headers, and good at holding the ball up. And in that first half hour, we struggled to impose ourselves. There were times when we broke quite well. There were times when we had some nice fluent movement in the Bromley half. But there weren't times when we created chances. And Bromley did create. Only a couple. But the first one should have gone in. As early as the second minute, a long ball turning Wrexham's defence, something they'd have to deal with throughout the game. Vassell chasing back towards his own goal and put under pressure, tried to find Langton, but his back pass wasn't accurate and went out for a corner on the right-hand side. Raymond stepped up, swept a great corner into the edge of the 6-yard box, where the centre-back Kizzy got the jump on Kwame Thomas and headed it over from inside the 6-yard box. He really should have scored. Bromley argued vehemently that it had been headed onto Kwame Thomas and deflected over. Looking at the replay, I don't think so. If it was, Thomas recovered well to get anything on it, but it doesn't look like he did. A real let-off for Wrexham. Like I say, Bromley continued to look more dangerous, but their only other effort in that first half hour was a long-range shot by Maloney from 25 yards, which was well struck, but was comfortably saved by Langton low down to his right. So they didn't really make enough opportunities, I would say, in their period of ascendancy, and Wrexham would punish them. 31st minute, Wrexham get their first corner. Young sweeps it in, and Davis, rising at the near post, coming off the keeper with a perfect flick header, put the ball into the net. His first goal for Wrexham, and a joyful celebration for the local lad. Bromley tried to hit back. A free kick was launched into the box from the right-hand side. Pearson did well to get a foot to it and poke it partly away. When it was popped back in, though, Cheek did very well to turn 6 yards out, and it looked like he was going to slot away his 18th goal of the season. But Pearson, brilliant, lunged and made an excellent block to send the ball clear. And Wrexham started to find their feet going forwards. A neat build-up ended with Harris faking the shot and then squaring it to Luke Young, who wasn't about to turn down the opportunity. From 25 yards, he hit a raking shot, which never was going to quite come down quickly enough. But within a minute, it didn't matter, because Wrexham had doubled their lead through a super goal. It started off with Pearson, who was not only impressive in terms of winning the ball, but also used the ball very well, doing nicely to feed Tyler French on the right-hand side. He stood a great ball down the flank for Angus, who made a super run in behind the fullback and into the right side of the box. He let it bounce, and then as it dropped, hooked a magnificent shot beyond Cousins and into the far top corner. A brilliant finish by Dior Angus, and Wrexham had taken a 2-0 lead. There was danger soon afterwards from Bromley, an absolute sitter. The ball was played into the box, and Pearson and Vassell couldn't stop Bridge. They collided, actually, going for the same ball. The ball ricocheted for Bridge, who broke down the right-hand side, did really well, and then pulled it back to put it on a plate for Duffus, 8 yards out, unmarked, centre of the box, and he put it way over, side-footing it over the bar. Inexcusable, that. So real chance to pull Bromley back into the game. They could have been punished for it, because in the first minute of added time, Wrexham got an opportunity. Harris, it was a nice build-up play. Harris driving past his man and hitting a 25-yarder, which was really skimming nastily. It looked like it was probably going just wide of the right post, but Cousins couldn't take a chance. He lunged and pushed it away, and Record's corner was a very nasty one. He swept it in. It was just about evaded Tyler French and Theo Vassell as they lunged at it, and the ball went out of play, and once the throw-in was taken, it was half-time. Bromley continued to pose a threat by knocking long balls and turning Wrexham's defence. It would have to be said that the referee Martin Woods had a peculiar game. His attitude, which, to be honest, suited Bromley really, was essentially don't give free kicks unless you absolutely have to. Fair enough. Referees letting the game flow. Referees saying this is a physical game. Keep playing. Okay, that's fair enough. But he was ignoring fouls. Kwame Thomas got beaten around like anything and was never getting any free kicks. He got one in the whole match that I recall. And so that kept Bromley in it a bit as well, because they were allowed to be robust, as we would see at the end, maybe a bit too robust. However, it was Wrexham who were carving out early opportunities. Thomas jumping well from a Leighton long ball, flicking it on beautifully, and, well, a real opportunity. Hang on, I'm quite wrong. That's 58th second of the second half, not the 58th minute. I do beg your pardon. Anyway, sorry. Leighton knocked it long. That was embarrassing. Thomas flicked it on, and Angus was one-on-one with the keeper, but had to hit it early and put it over the bar. Disappointing miss for him. 5 minutes later, Bromley trying to carve out a chance. First chance in the second half for Cheek. Good work by Bridge, driving into the box down the left channel and then feeding it outside him. Cheek running onto it, but he had no support, so he went for power from a pretty much impossible angle and smashed in a shot, which rattled the side netting. Oh, beg your pardon. Wrexham going up the other end then had what looked like a glorious opportunity, a lovely move ending with Hall Johnson drilling a fantastic cross at the near post. Angus, unmarked, looked like he had a tap in, but having run diagonally into the 6-yard box, he just hit it the way he was running and put it well wide. Relief perhaps to him that the flag went up. But Wrexham kept pushing, some poor defending when the ball was bouncing on the edge of the area. Webster heading it up in the air, and then Kizzy attacking it. I'm totally misjudging this and missing the ball completely. Allowed Jordan Davis to bring the ball down, and from 20 yards out hit a shot which went just over. Bromley looking to fight back, forced Rob Leighton into his only save when Coulson fed the ball to the edge of the area. Cheek held her up nicely, squared it to Bridge, who had a bit of time in the D. Maybe took a little bit too much, because as he hit his shot again, typically Pearson lunged across. He couldn't stop the shot from going on target, but he did take a bit of the pace off it, and as a result Leighton dived to his right and was able to push it behind for a corner. Wrexham though were making more chances in the second half, and better chances in the second half, and nearly got a third in the 63rd minute. Maybe they ought to have done. Record of a free kick on the right flank. He swept in a horrible ball which went through everybody and hit the post on the far side. It rebounded out to Angus, a decent chance again for Angus, 10 yards out. He drove it off target across the face of goal. Pearson was standing only a couple of yards out, but it was drilled so hard by Angus that Pearson couldn't really react properly, and the ball ricocheted off him to safety. Then Bromley's big chance, and their last chance to get into the game. Within a minute, a lovely long diagonal by Bush. Cheek racing in behind Vassell, who stretched but couldn't quite reach it. One-on-one with Leighton. He had time to bring it down, but instead felt Leighton was off his line and tried a little cute cushion volley over the keeper from the edge of the box and got too much on it. It went over the bar. He would regret that, because 3 minutes later, an absolute worldie gave Wrexham the 3-goal lead and the points. Long ball by Leighton. Another good flick on in the air by Thomas. Angus running down the right channel. Looked like a virtually impossible angle. He hit the most beautiful acrobatic volley across Cousins, which slammed into the far post and ricocheted into the net. A glorious strike. If only it had come over his shoulder, it would have been a full Marco van Basten. And Angus, with the second goal, wheeled away to celebrate and was hungry then to get a third. Bromley made changes. Vincent came on as a left-sided wing-back and was lucky not to get a yellow card when he ran into the box, took on Harris and dived. The referee was not interested at all in the penalty, but wasn't also interested in giving a yellow card. He seemed determined not to give any bookings, but he'd have to in the air after a frantic couple of minutes with 10 minutes left. It started out with Hall Johnson doing really well to win a header high up on the right hand side. To find Angus, it was almost exactly the same as his third goal. Pretty much the same point on the pitch. He did the same thing, drilled it again across Cousins, who did well this time to get down and smother it. But within a minute, controversy would reign. Ball played into the edge of the area. Angus tried to get past Bush, but couldn't. Angus fell to the ground on the edge of the box, and Bush definitely trod on his head. Was it deliberate? Right. Am I overanalyzing this? I've looked at it a lot. Everyone feels it's a deliberate stamp on his head. I'm not totally sure. He could be off balance and just can't stop himself. He isn't massively off balance. He is looking down at Angus when he does it as well. It doesn't look great, let's put it that way. The thing that really looks bad for Bush, and I'll be able to show you this if you're watching the video at the end of the podcast, is that afterwards Angus said he did this 2 years ago in a match he played for Barrow, and I found the clip. It's Barrow at home to Ebbsfleet, and the recipient on this occasion actually is John Rooney. It's a goal kick to Barrow. It's knocked long. Before it's taken, Rooney and Bush are having a little bit of argy-bargy. They challenge for the ball. Rooney goes down under the challenge, which the referee deems to be fair. It was robust, but I think fair enough. And then, well, Rooney's on the floor. Bush has to turn to run, and he's not off balance at all. He puts his foot onto Rooney's hip and pushes off to sprint in the other direction. It's not good. You know, you see things like that. I mean, Angus remembers things like that. It doesn't do the idea that this was an accidental clash in the Wrexham game any favours. Anyway, Angus was absolutely incandescent. Was furious, was jabbing his finger towards Bush. The referee booked him, having shown no desire to book anybody through the match, and it didn't stop him. You could hear ringing around the ground, the players all shouting to Angus to calm down. Some players intervened and tried to take him away, but he was still pointing his finger in the direction of Bush, and Dean Keats sensibly, I think, decided that he couldn't take the risk, and so although Angus was on a hat-trick with 9 minutes left, he hooked him and brought on Jordan Ponticelli, which, you know, Angus, I'm sure, was hugely disappointed, but it was a sensible call. Durrell came on a couple of minutes later as well for Jordan Davis, and the last 10 minutes played out fairly calmly. There was a chance for Bromley to get a consolation 4 minutes from the end. A free kick swung into the box, and Trotter at the far post managed to make contact with it 6 yards out and plant the ball against the post. It ricocheted away to safety. Wrexham made an injury time substitution. I hope no injury or anything. It didn't seem to be for Hall Johnson, who went off. Mark Carrington replacing him. And in the 5th minute of added time, Wrexham nearly got a 4th. It would have been, well, a goal very reminiscent of a remarkable strike that the aforementioned John Rooney managed against, who was it? Guiseley. A free kick, right of centre, about 30 yards out in the closing seconds of the game, just like Rooney's. And just like Rooney, Young decided he was just going to belt the cover off the ball. The thinking, of course, being that it's either a goal or it's going to go deep in the stands. He launched it, it dipped viciously, Cousins in goal. Well, his reaction is what tells you how good the free kick was. He sort of is rooted at the spot, completely off balance by the movement of the ball, and ends up just bending his knees and looking up hopefully and seeing it just skim the bar. The final whistle then went, and Wrexham had a deserved win, although, like I said, Bromley did carve out opportunities. Looking through the team, well, Langton didn't have much to do, made 2 saves, both of which were perfectly savable. So, you know, a fairly comfortable clean sheet really for him. The centre-backs were all terrific. Pearson was magnificent, and, you know, it's a 50-50 call in our commentary. Che Long felt that Angus was man of the match. I thought Pearson was. Either would be absolutely fair enough. Pearson was magnificent. You wouldn't have believed that this was his first game for 3 months. His first home league game since the last match of last season against Eastleigh. You expect him to be rusty. He was magnificent. You expect him to be cautious. He was decisive. It was one of the best performances I've seen from him in a Wrexham shirt, and that's saying something. The number of headers he won, blocks he made, tackles he made, and also his decisiveness with the ball, stepping up, playing some neat little passes, also making some really nice first-time volleyed balls to players in midfield. It was terrific. Alongside him, Vassell's pace again was so valuable. A number of interceptions he made where he accelerated and dispossessed a player. On the other side, French had a fairly quiet opening hour or so, and in the last half hour more came down his side when Vincent came on, because like I said, the wing backs initially were set up not to run and offer width. Well, when Vincent came on the left, that all changed, and French suddenly found himself in a busy part of the pitch and was terrific in the way that he dealt with the threat. In the wing backs, Hull Johnson and Record, again, decent performances by them, maybe not quite as spectacular as we've got used to, but they were solid defensively. Although, as I said, Bromley's setup meant there wasn't that much threat down the flanks, really. They didn't really get past their men much to put crosses in from dangerous positions, but they were perfectly sound. In the middle of the pitch, well, Harris and Young really rolled their sleeves up. I mean, they battled, won tackles, chased everything. It felt like when we had 10 men, they felt like they were making an extra man up between them. Really impressive endeavour. In a way they had to, because Jordan Davis was clearly told to push up a little bit further and link attack and midfield, and he did it really well. The number of turns he pulled off were wonderful. He was driving forwards, causing problems. So glad he got his goal. But he really did look lively. And then up front, the two strikers. Thomas has just become... he's become a bit like Luke Young, Carrington and Rutherford. I'm in danger of just lapsing into cliche and saying the same thing every time, because consistently he does these things. He beats the centre-backs in the air, he works like crazy, and he combines nicely with Angus. It really was the big striker, small striker cliche of him winning flick-ons to put Angus in on goal. Angus was really running off and well, but Thomas has to win those headers to make that work. Another admirable performance, and again doing good defensive work in his own box from set plays. And then Angus, who from the very start was a terrific nuisance to the defenders. Wrexham from the start were trying to turn the defence, Bromley's defence, which isn't the quickest, and Angus's running in behind them was causing them problems. His movement was excellent. When he didn't get there, he was hassling and pressuring and forcing errors, and so just for that alone he was important. But then the two goals, the first was a beauty, the second was a screamer. And yet, ironically, he missed a couple of easy chances, and another one which was disallowed for offside if it had gone in. Brilliant performance by him. So very, very, very satisfying. As I said, if you're watching the video version, I will put the incident between Rooney and Chris Bush on at the end of this. And please remember, support your local football club. Subscribe to the podcasts, subscribe on YouTube, get your notifications, stick comments, leave reviews on iTunes. Everything like that allows us to approach sponsors with better metrics, allows us to get good guests on the programmes, because we can show them we're a serious show. So please, if you could do those things, that would be fantastic. Dragonheart will be coming out early this week as well, obviously, because we're playing on Good Friday. And I've forgotten the most exciting thing about the match: the electronic scoreboards. It seems everyone found them distracting except me. I must admit, I was interested, especially in the comedy messages from Rob and Ryan, but mostly I didn't really notice it that much. I want that. You know, that little sausage dog in the Vitality advert? I want him running around the pitch. That's distracting. So I want to see that. But no, at the moment we've just got something else flashy to go alongside our massive floodlights. Yeah, good day at the office. That, like I said, if you're watching the video, the clip's coming up of what happened 2 years ago in a Barrow-Ebbsfleet match between Chris Bush and Rooney. Bush, well, the evidence suggests, might be quite the philatelist, collecting stamps all over the country. So, with a final score of Wrexham 3, Bromley 0, I'm Mark Griffiths from the Wrexham AFC media team. Alright, so here's the incident. Now, on the bottom right corner of your screen is Bush in red and Rooney, who's now walking up behind him, and Rooney seems to, maybe deliberately give him a little tread on the back of his heel. Bush immediately is doing that very suspicious thing of putting his arms up to claim innocence, which usually means you've done something. You can see Barrow's bench, pointing it out. Now here comes the long ball. Wrestling goes on. Rooney goes, now watch the right foot. There you go. Kicking off Rooney. Doesn't look good, does it? Here we are in slow motion. Right foot onto his hip. Don't think there's much doubt. I think the pictures speak for themselves there.
Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe as well so you don't miss out on any of our content, and click the bell to get notifications.